Hi there, it's Dr. Embody. Let's take a look at Project 2. And we take a look at the PDF file here, and what is it telling us? Well, we've got a garden, and the garden's a perfect square. All right, so we got a perfect square there, and the 4 outer flower beds are congruent isosceles triangles. Alright, so we've got some isosceles triangles there, and then we have a circle which is centered, and its diameter is half the length of the side of a square. So that is half the length of the side of the square. Okay, so we're going to have to do a little playing around with that. Then we input some things: the length of the side of the garden in feet, spacing between plants in inches. Notice we got some things in feet and some things in inches. Depth of the flower beds in feet, depth of the fill area in feet, the fill area being the gray. And we're all done. We will have how many plants, the cubic yards, okay, another unit of measure of soil, and cubic yards of fill. So we've got feet, we've got inches, we've got number of plants, we've got cubic yards, all right, all sorts of stuff to keep straight here, but that's all arithmetic. Now that we get some a little bit of help here, area of a circle. Well, I guess we didn't need to tell you that, but we do have the math module, and math.pi is an approximation. Let's take a quick look at that. If I bring up the shell, we have here it is. We can say import math, and then we can take a look at, well, what is this math.pi? Oh, there it is. It's 3.14 blah blah blah. Right. So if I wanted to do something like, if I had a radius, and let's pick some number like 3, and then I want to find a circumference, which we know circumference is 2 times pi, that's math.pi, times the radius. Alright, so what is the circumference? There it is, out to some number of places. And in fact, what is the type of that? That is a float. And one way I can truncate that is to take my circumference and convert it into an integer. And what that does is that truncates. That is, it takes the c and it just chops everything off after the decimal point, leaving us with the 18. So that's one way to truncate. There actually is a math.trunc, but we don't need to deal with that. Okay, so there's a little bit about math and math.pi. And so we just took care of math.pi. We took care of truncating using the int function. And notice what else we have here. It's like, how are we going to estimate the number of plants for the flower bed? Well, we give it to you. We take the area of the flower bed, let me call it A, and we divide it by the area needed per plant, which is the square of the recommended distance between the plant. So we're going to divide this by, I will call that recommended distance D, and we're going to square it. We're going to raise it so it's A over D squared, which of course we can write in Python as the area over D star star 2. Order of operations are standard. We do the star star first, and then we do the slash, so we don't need parentheses. But if you wanted to put parentheses just to make it a little clearer, we can do that. So that takes care of how to do the distance. Watch out, because we input the distance between plants in inches, and we had the value of things for calculating the area in terms of feet. So you better get those the same. Either do it all in feet or all in inches, doesn't matter. Just be consistent. All right, so you got to watch out for always watch out for your units in this particular problem. All right, so there's a little bit of things. Now let's actually take a look at a problem, and let me bring up a slightly bigger picture of the area that we're dealing with. And so there's a particular one. Now remember, in the instructions it says solve the problem using pencil and paper first. Boom, boom, boom. You got to do that. All right. So let's take a look. And we might as well use it. If we're going to do this in pencil and paper, let's use a particular example. Let's use this one. So the length of the side of the garden is 12. So we've got 12 on each side. Remember, this is a square, so it's 12 by 12. And what does that mean? Well, these are at the midpoint, so each of those is 6 because these are isosceles triangles. So that triangle there has 6 on each side. And then we also had that the circle's diameter was half the length, so that's the diameter is 6. And remember that all the formulas actually take the radius, which of course is half of that. All right, so I have if my side is 12, I have 6 on either side of my triangles, and the radius of my circle is 3. So now I can do the calculations. I'm not going to do it for you. I was a high school math teacher for 6 years. I know that you guys are perfectly capable of taking a triangle, particularly that's a right angle up there because we're inside of a square. You could find the area of that. Same thing with your circle here. You've got the radius. You can find the area of that. And once you have the area, remember we had you can then take that formula that we gave you to find out how many plants are in it. Right? Take the area divided by the distance between the plants squared, truncate that, and hopefully if you've done your arithmetic right with your pencil and paper and calculator, you will come up with 72 plants in each triangle. All right, notice the each there. And then you'll come up with 113 inside the circle. And so there's 4 triangles in one circle, and you end up with 401 plants. That's what so don't go any further until with pencil and paper you can come up with that and keep track of what you did. Find the area, find how many plants are in that one triangle. Now you got 4 of those. Do the same thing for the circle. All right, now you got the area of those. What do you need for, then you can go work on the soil. These are going to be in cubic yards, so our dimensions were in feet. So figure out how many cubic feet you have and then convert it into cubic yards. And again, get those 2 values. Again, we've got 4 triangular areas, and you ought to be able to come up with the cubic yards. So and then you have to do of course you have to do the fill. That's the gray area there. Well, if you know what's in the green, then you know what's in the gray. Again, simple arithmetic will get you that. So once you can do this, if I start with a 12 and a 6 and a 3 and a 3, remembering that the 6 is in inches, you got to be able to get those. And once you've got those, we should be in reasonably good shape. Again, we're going to, and once you have your formulas, write down your formulas. Once you have those, now you can try it. Okay, suppose the side of each side is now 4 instead of a 12, and we have 9 inches between plants and 1.5 and so on. Do you end up with the same values here? So do one example, come up with, write down the formulas that you use to do that, and now you have the calculations. And why is that important? Because this really is a 3-stage process. You know, what are we doing here? We are prompting for input, do some calculations, and then print out the output. Right. 3 steps: prompt, calculate, print. If you have written down your formulas, you now have the calculations, you already know how to prompt. We did that the last time. And you know how to print some output. Again, we did that last time, so you should be in good shape. Prompt, calculate, print. All right. And again, I can't emphasize enough, what is that calculation? It's what you did with pencil and paper, and write down the formulas that you use, because that's how you'll go about solving this problem. I suggest that you know, you make your output exactly like this, and if you can get these 2 to work, you're probably off to a good start. I would certainly try a couple of other values and to make sure you have that. Okay, that should be enough to get you started.